Hey guys, it's Jen, and I'm back with my final guest design post for Hip Kit Club. And for today's layout, I've done most of the hard work ahead of time. I used my favorite paper from the kit, which has really cute backside as well, but to create a background, and I hand stitched this on the background. And this is the one of the cut files from this month. I think it's the exclusive, like if you're a Hip Kit Club member or subscriber, then you get this cut file. And I believe, so what I did was I cut it out on my silhouette, and then I just laid it down on my paper, and I poked the holes all around it. Now, some of these shapes had more intricate details to them, like this little frame had stripes, but I didn't poke the holes for that. I thought I would keep it a little bit simpler, and I think it turned out really, really cool, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. And then on the back, I used washi tape to glue down all of the loose ends. So I think that turned out really cool. Now this is going to be another Disney layout. And I have 3 photos that are seemingly insignificant, but together they tell a story that I want to tell about going to Disneyland with my husband's whole family. And I've just cut them down to size to fit into these little frames here. And what I'm going to tell, so these are 3 random photos of us just walking along in the park, and I just want to talk about how cool, one of the coolest parts about going to Disneyland with my husband's whole entire family was the fact that we were all walking around together, and there were just a whole bunch of us, and that was just a super cool and different experience than the experiences we've had at Disney before, because we've gone with just a few people. And so I just wanted to talk about that on this layout. So I have pulled a bunch of stuff from the kit that I plan to use, and so I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and I will speed up the process so I can talk you through it.
So I know I want to use those Beanboard alphabets for the word Disney, and so I'm just going to pull out the letters here. I'm going to skip forward in just a second so you don't have to watch me painstakingly search for these. I thought at first that I might use the capital letters, but I end up going for lowercase, and I know it drives some people crazy when a word should be capitalized and you use lowercase, but it doesn't bother me, so I go ahead and do it. And I'm going to kind of tie the word memories that's stitched onto the background in with my title. And so I'm going to do Hello Disney Memories, or Happy Disney Memories. And then I add hello above that later. So I use the word happy from those Bella Boulevard white chipboard pieces. I love those because you could use them as white or you could color them. So I've only begun to really dig into this kit, so I plan to make a bunch more layouts. I might not video them, but I do want to do a layout share, so I'll be sure to share that when I do, because I have so much stuff. So what I'm doing now is just laying down those letters, and I'm kind of trying to nestle them in. The curve of the Y fit into one of the scallops on that scalloped circle. And so I started with that, and I'm going to work my way back using a ruler to kind of help me make sure everything lines up a little bit straighter than what it would if I was just freehanding it. And I'm going to end up overlapping the letters slightly because I want the D to kind of nestle in the same way that the Y did. And so I just need to make these squish together a little bit, and I'm okay with that. So they will overlap just slightly. And I used my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive to glue those down. It's a nice strong adhesive, and I have it in a fine line bottle, which I love. And then I'm just putting these Bella Boulevard chipboard pieces down. They have a nice sticky adhesive on the back, and I just started the word and nestled it in next to the I on Disney, and you can see that I like to do that wherever possible, is nestle things together. So I'm using some of these puffy sticker clouds along with a die cut cloud, which are all exclusive to Hip Kits this month, and I'm going to use those in 3 places on the layout. The one on the right will move eventually, but I know I want to make a little Mickey Mouse head with some of these enamel dots again, and so I'm just trying to decide what color. I'm going to go for yellow for now, and I'm just going to play around to see if I kind of am thinking that I want to embellish each little square or circle or whatever somehow. So I'm playing around with different ways to do that, using chipboard pieces and different embellishments from the different kits from this month. I thought about putting hearts in the 3 hearts, those little Bella Boulevard enamel hearts in those 3 little stitched hearts, but I just didn't like the way it looked, so I take them off. And so because I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and do what I do know I want to do, which is stick these clouds down at the top. And I'm popping the die cut on foam squares just so that it has a little bit of dimension. And I'm just searching through to find how I want to, still trying to decide how I want to do my embellishment here. So I know I want to bring some of that kind of, the color that's in the word Disney somewhere else, and so I use that little Bella Boulevard bow on my photo, and I'm going to pop that up so it has room for the clip on the back. So after I decided to pop up that one photo, I decided I wanted to pop up the others as well. And instead of using those foam tabs, I'm going to use some cheap fun foam that I use. You can get packages of it for really inexpensive. I got this one at Walmart for like $5, and you get several, I think you get like 60 sheets or something. So it's a really good deal. And so I'm just putting that behind the other 2 photos. And now I'm going to play around more with the embellishment. So here's where I decide to put that word hello above happy. And I like the way that it fills that space above my title. I also decide to put that word awesome down at the bottom. And I like the way that looks there. And I'm going to play around now with some more of my embellishment and kind of going to cluster things around the photos rather than spacing things out and putting them in the frames. And so I'm going to move one of the clouds over by the title, and then one of them's going to go down by that bottom photo, and I'm going to place hearts in each of the clusters, and you'll see that here in just a second. So I'm placing a die cut heart over on the left hand photo, and there's a chipboard heart from the Bella Boulevard chipboard sheet on that bottom photo, and I'm trying to decide what else to put in with that cluster, and I'm trying to decide that I had a little bit of trouble with the top photo, but I'm going to place that word strip that's from the die cut package across the photo because there's nothing going on there, and then I'm going to use another one of the chipboard hearts with it. I'll end up moving that over to the right hand side just because there seems like there's a lot going on the left, and so I'll just move it over. So I'm going to cluster some of these wooden hearts that are from the Jelly Bean Soup wood pieces that came in one of the kits with some of these other hearts, and you'll see I put one down at the bottom, and then I think I put one up at the top as well. I can't remember. So I'm still going through trying to decide what to add, and I found this little piece that's from a cut apart sheet that came in the Project Life kit, and it says Good Life, and so I'm going to cut those up and use them in both spots, or in 2 different spots, one on the bottom left photo and one on the top right photo. And I'm just playing around with where I want to add those. I kind of want them to be tucked in a little bit. So here's where I move that heart over, and I'm just going to glue that down. And there's a little bit something on it, so I'm just using an adhesive remover to get that off of the heart. And I'm placing the bottom one now. And I'm just thinking there needs to be a little bit something more. I kept trying to add that orange color in because there's a little bit in the cloud up at the top, but there just seemed to be too many colors going on. I don't know. This is a colorful layout, but orange was one of the colors I decided not to add in. So I'm just adding some enamel dots, and I'm going to add some in each cluster, 3 on the bottom one because it's kind of a heavier cluster, and then 2 in each of the others. And I'm going to add a little wooden arrow up in the top cluster because I felt like I needed one more area where there was that wood. And so I put that up there. So I don't think I do add another wooden heart because I put the arrow there. So I'm playing around with adding some more to the bottom, and I don't like the way that looks, so I decide against it. And I thought maybe I would add these little plus signs in, and I do kind of like them, but I decide against that as well. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and add my journaling. I'm going to add it in that little oval on the right. And so I typed up my journaling on my typewriter, and I'm just going to cut this apart and see how it fits in there. Now I want everything to rest in between the lines of that stitched circle, and so I'm going to have to do a little bit of cutting and pasting in different areas than what I thought. I made the lines a little bit longer than I should have, and I'm just cutting it up, and I don't mind kind of the pieced together look that it ends up having, because I wanted it to just fit within that oval. So just piecing that together, and I'm basically in the journaling talking about the same thing that I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the layout, about how cool it was that we were all in the park together, and there were lots of magic little moments and hand holding, and it was adorable and all of that. So the funny thing about this layout is my daughter isn't in any of these photos, but I still wanted to tell the story, so that doesn't matter. We were all together. It was fine. So after I add in the journaling, it's very white against the background, and then I also have the white word happy in the title cluster. And so you'll see here in a second that I am going to go over to my typewriter and just type the date, which was November 2014, and I am going to add that in down at the bottom just for another kind of little pop of white so that it's not so isolated there. So I'm just putting it above the word awesome. I thought about also placing it below or over to the side. Kind of liked it on the side, but I didn't like the way that there were words going up the side and then also across the bottom. And so I end up placing it above the word awesome there. So now I am just looking for what I can add kind of as a final touch. And I'm going to play around with some more of these die cuts, but I don't think any of them make it on. I wanted something up in the top with that with the title. It just felt kind of empty, and what I decided to do is to grab my Shimmers Vibes in Jenny B Blue, and I'm going to sprinkle some of that in the various in all of the different embellishment clusters. But first I'm going to look through all of the cards that came in the Project Life kit to see if there's anything that I might be able to cut out to add there or something. It's just, I almost put that little acrylic arrow, but I decided against it, and I kind of like the way that it looked there, but again, I'm just being fussy and trying to find something, and nothing is quite fitting the way that I want it to. So here I pulled out the Jelly Bean Soup paper that's a cut apart sheet, and I thought I would use that little camera that was on one of the cut aparts and just hand trim that out. And I actually really like the way the camera looks when you cut it out, but it just didn't work in the space, and it's a little bit bright of a pink for what I wanted, and so again, not gonna work. So that's where I finally decide, oh duh, I have this mist, I can just sprinkle a little right there and it will visually fill the space without being overwhelming, and I really like the way that ended up working out. So that's gonna finish off the layout. There's lots of still photos coming up. Be sure to head over to the Hip Kit blog so that you can check out all of the still photos up close, and I also have a bonus card project up as well, and this I think will post on, I can't remember if it's Thursday or Friday, so be sure to check that out. I've had so much fun guest designing for Hip Kit, and I'm so grateful to have done these kits. Watch out for a layout share using all of the leftover bits that I have, and we'll see you very soon.